a young Dunmer walks the cold streets of the grey quarter of Windhelm, until she overhears two citizens speaking. Intrigued, they hide behind a wall and begin to eavesdrop. The young boy pesters the woman about someone named Aventus. However, the woman downplays his imaginative conclusions as mere rumors until the boy offers to invite Aventus outside.
I'm going to knock on his door.
To which the woman quickly shuts down his attempts to see the boy before explaining the reasoning behind her concerns.
What you heard is true, but Aventus Oratino walks a dark path. His actions can lead only to ruin.
After she finishes, she sends the boy home. The conversation shared between the two people sparks an intense curiosity in the dark elf. She sneaks to the front door of the house, picks the lock, and enters the home. After entering the front door, the elf creeps up the stairs. And as they enter the main room, a young boy's voice can be heard.
Die!
Following the source of the noise, the elf makes a grim discovery. The boy turns, noticing the elf standing over him. He begins to speak to the elf gleefully, as he is under the impression that the elf is an assassin. The boy tells his story and mentions that he has performed the Black Sacrament, a bloody ritual used to summon a member of the Dark Brotherhood. Although the elf tries to explain that they're not an assassin, the boy refuses to listen. Instead, he bestows a contract upon them, and although initially reluctant, the elf is overwhelmed by a strange feeling. A feeling they have felt before. The boy continues speaking, but his voice is drowned out by dark and destructive thoughts. An annoying tingling sensation pokes and prods at the back of the elf's mind, a sensation that only grows as the boy explains who he wants dead. During the boy's explanation, the only words that make their way through the elf's mind are that of the victim's information, Grelad the Kind, Honor Hall Orphanage, Riften. The elf desperately tries to shake the feeling, but the more they try, the worse it feels. But the elf has heard enough. The target must be eliminated. The long journey is occasionally interrupted by the distant roar of soaring dragons. However, no sound could break the elf's focus. They sit in the carriage, completely zoning out. After a long unspoken trip, they arrive at Riften. Exiting the carriage, the elf ignores the carriage driver's goodbye and heads straight for the front gate. The elf scans the town of its buildings. They approach the town's market and give a long, detailed look at the surrounding stores and houses. Searching around the hold, they notice a small house tucked away in the far corner. A large copper sign reading Honor Hall Orphanage sits atop the front door. The elf feels a slight stinging pain behind their eyes as they take notice. They begin to anticipate whatever event is about to unfold. Entering the orphanage, an immediate wave of tension washes over the body of the Dunmer. An old woman can be heard spewing disrespectful and cruel comments in the next room.
I will hear no more talk of adoptions. None of you riffraff is getting adopted, ever. Nobody needs you. Nobody wants you. Now scurry off, my little gutter snipes.
The more they listen to the hag's voice, the more dark and violent the thoughts occupying the Dunmer's mind become. After the children are sent to bed, the elf does their best to remain undetected by the people within the building as they creep to the woman's quarters. Creeping in the corner of the room, they blend perfectly in the shadows. A piercing shriek fills their head. Pressure builds inside their skull, and it only increases with every step. Clutching a ball of fire and lightning, the Dunmer lurks over the sleeping body of the elderly woman. Without muttering a word, the elf casts a deafening conjunction of the elements, sending her soul to the afterlife and her corpse into the other side of the room. An intense burst of euphoria ripples through the body of the elf, and like a ghost, they slide between the now-awake children. Behind the killer swarms the cheers of the once-abused kids and the pleas of the deceased hag's former co-worker.
Aventus did it!
Hooray! Grelad the Kind is dead at last. We're safe.
Fleeing the scene of the crime, the elf does their best to avoid alerting any of the town guards. Dashing past the buildings and through the shadows, the killer makes their escape. In the cold, bleak streets of Windhelm, the dark elf roams around. Although they were once a seemingly emotionless being, they seem to have a noticeable pep in their step. They've noticed that ever since they returned from Riften, nothing has been the same. In the hours following the slaying of the orphanage owner, excitement rippled through their veins as if their blood was filled with electricity. Although they reside in a hold without colours, everything was brighter, music sounded better, even the dullest of stews tasted like they were cooked by the gourmet themselves. Days later, they noticed that the glee had begun to slowly dissipate, disintegrating and fading away as the world around them returned to its former dull state. As time went on, the elf started to feel slightly paranoid. Every passing person stared for just a second too long, and every murmur felt as if it was targeted at the Dunmer. Eventually, the feelings of paranoia became too much. The elf decides to leave the city and stay in a nearby town. Maybe this new location will help shed the anxiety, and they can get their mind in a better state. Arriving at the nearby town of Kynesgrove, the elf approaches the Braidwood Inn and enters the building. After speaking to the innkeep, they are escorted to the bedroom where they will stay for the night. Laying down on the bed, the Dunmer finally closes their weary eyes and falls into a deep slumber. Awakening in an unfamiliar location, the Dunmer slowly lifts themselves from the bed. Groggy and disoriented, they look around. A shrouded figure sits atop a wardrobe and begins speaking to the elf.
Sleep well?
"Where am I?" the elf asks.
Does it matter? You're warm, dry, and still very much alive. That's more than can be said for old Grelod, Old hag gets butchered in her own orphanage? Things like that tend to get around. But there is a slight, problem. You see, that little Aratino boy was looking for the Dark Brotherhood. For me and my associates. Grelod the Kind was, by all rights, a Dark Brotherhood contract. A kill that you stole. A kill you must repay. If you turn around, you'll notice my guests. You see, there's a contract out on one of them, and that person can't leave this room alive. But, which one? Go on, see if you can figure it out. Make your kill and we're square. Repayment of your debt is but a discreet knife thrust away.
After their conversation, they face the three bound people. The elf's thoughts are trapped in an intertwining conflict. The elf knows that if they refuse to kill one of the captives, they themselves will not leave the room alive. It's not a question of whether or not they choose to kill, but who. Thinking hard, they take a long look at each of the potential victims. On the left is a man donning armor. In the middle is a woman wearing plain clothes. And on the right is a man in a fairly extravagant robe. The elf is unsure if they should question them individually, as to not humanize the captives and possibly cloud their own judgment. They ponder the potential consequences of a wrong choice. But what if there wasn't one? The elf knows that someone in this room will die, and regardless of which life is taken, the Dunmer knows that a kill will satiate their bloodlust. Drowning out any hint of doubt or any chance of second-guessing, they erase all thoughts in their mind. After their mind is clear, the familiar feeling of anticipation bubbles up. The ringing sound begins its ascendo. The solution manifests itself as a ball of magic in the palms of the elf. Everything within the mind of the Dunmer goes silent before the answer is whispered into their soul. Kill them all. A hellish ball of destruction sweeps across the room and strikes the three captives, rendering them all charred vessels that once carried souls. As the corpses solidify on the spot like cooked meat, an intense rush pulses through the elf. After the flames dwindle, the shrouded woman speaks to the elf.
Well, well, aren't we the overachiever? 3 possibilities, 3 victims. Must have been one of them, right? So why take chances? And you've repaid your debt in full. I would like to officially extend to you an invitation to join my family, the Dark Brotherhood. In the southwest reaches of Skyrim, in the Pine Forest, you'll find the entrance to our sanctuary. When questioned by the Black Door, answer with the correct passphrase, "Silence, my brother." Then you're in, and your new life begins. I'll see you at home.
Barely able to listen to a word, the Dunmer takes note of only the most important parts of the conversation. They then burst through the door of the shack, the cold wind accentuating the chilling sensation in their fingertips. Standing over the chilling ice water, they look up at the sky and a haunting voice whispers,
"Hail, Sithis!"
Strangers are all like, watch your mouth with me, you pup. Who do you think you are?
The man doing your job?
and just like that, a small metal spike attached to a stick sends another unsuspecting victim to the afterlife. Sheathing their weapon, the assassin simply strolls away, as if a contract kill was merely an insignificant checkbox on their to-do list. They return to the Dark Brotherhood's sanctuary, but notice a gathering near the main room.
But the Night Mother is mother to all. It is her voice we follow, her will. Would you dare risk disobedience? And surely punishment?
Keep talking, little man, and we'll see who gets punished.
Oh, be quiet, you great lumbering lapdog. The man has had a long journey. You can at least be civil. Mr. Cicero, I, for one, am delighted you and the Night Mother have arrived. Your presence here signals a welcome return to tradition.
Oh, what a kind and wise wizard you are! Sure to earn Our Lady's favor.
You and the Night Mother are of course welcome here, Cicero. And you will be afforded the respect deserving of your position as keeper. Understood, husband?
Her.
Oh, yes, yes, yes! Thank you, thank you, thank you!
But make no mistake. I am the leader of this sanctuary. My word is law. Are we clear on that point?
Oh, yes, mistress! Perfectly! You're the boss!
After the discussion concludes, the Dark Brotherhood leader Astrid approaches the elf.
Ah, there you are. Good. I was done speaking with that muttering fool anyway. We've got some business to discuss.
Do you have a contract for me? The elf asks.
I do indeed. You must go to the city of Markarth and speak with the apothecary's assistant. You'll probably find her in the Hag's Cure when the shop is open. Her name is Muiri. Be professional, represent us well, and get the job done. I'll let you keep whatever Muiri pays. She'll be generous, I'm sure.
Astrid returns to her duties. The elf heads to the shared bedroom and gets ready to rest for the night.
Oh, yes, mistress. You're the boss. For now.
The next day, the elf reaches the city of Markarth and approaches the contact.
Why are you looking at me like that?
The Dark Brotherhood is here, Muiri, the elf says.
The Dark Brotherhood... My goodness, you're really here. The Black Sacrament. It actually worked. What I need is for Elaine Dufont to die. I want him hunted down and murdered like the dog he is.
Weary gives the name of the location where the target can be found. Alongside some additional backstory on why she wants him dead, however, the elf disregards the unnecessary information.
But, well, there is one more thing, if you're interested.
Mwiri adds an additional target to the job. While not part of the original contract, she mentions the name of a Windhelm citizen, someone that the elf is familiar with. Refusing to empathize with Mwiri's reasons for the additional hit, the elf accepts the extra task and leaves the building to do the job.
I met Elaine in the tavern, while I was drinking my sadness away. He was handsome and charming. He said I was the beautiful lily of his dreams. Elaine made all the pain just go away. But it was all lies. Elaine used me. He ruined my name, destroyed my friendship with the Shatter Shields. And now they all think I'm some kind of monster. Elaine Dufont took my life, and now I'm taking his. Don't you see? I was like a daughter to Tova, a sister to Nilsine and Frigga. But the family refuses to believe my innocence, no matter what I say. No, they treated me like garbage, threw me away. With Nilsine dead, maybe then Tova will realize what she's lost, huh? And if not, may she drown in her own tears. Make them all pay for what they've done to me.
First Frigga, now Nilsine? How can I bear the loss of a second daughter, when I'm barely over the death of a first? I simply cannot find any reason to continue living. My 2 little girls are gone. The lights of my life have been extinguished. My only hope now is to be reunited with them in the halls of Sovngarde, if the Eternals can suffer the company of one who has taken her own life. If not, then wherever my soul may end up, in oblivion or elsewhere, has to be better than this terrible existence. Farewell. Remember me fondly and often. Tova Shattershield.
The elf returns to the sanctuary after finishing Mwiri's contract and notices Astrid posted up in her usual spot. As they approach, Astrid strikes up a conversation with the elf.
Ah, you're back. So, how went your first real contract? A bit more exciting than what Nazir's been offering, I'd wager?
I did what I needed to do, the elf replies, hiding their enjoyment.
Of course, dear, of course. And from what my little ravens tell me, you handled yourself quite well. Now, I need your assistance with a matter of a more personal nature. It's Cicero. Ever since he arrived, his behavior's been, well, erratic would be an understatement. But it's worse than that. He's taken to locking himself in the Night Mother's chamber and talking to someone in hushed but frantic tones. Who is he speaking with? What are they planning? You must understand. If Cicero is turning the others against me, against us, our family would not survive such division.
So, what do you need from me? The elf replies.
Dear sister, I need you to steal into that chamber and eavesdrop on their meeting. It'll be no use clinging to the shadows. They'll see you for sure. You need a hiding place. Somewhere they'd never think to look. Like inside the Night Mother's coffin. No objections then? Good. Go now, before they meet, and report back to me with whatever you learn.
The elf immediately takes off towards the Night Mother's chambers. Trying to avoid arousing any suspicion, they stroll nonchalantly past the other assassins. Out of sight of the other members of the Brotherhood, the elf approaches the Night Mother's chambers. Approaching the large sarcophagus, a thick eeriness emanates from it. But knowing the elf has no time to waste, they pick the lock, exposing the mummified corpse of the Night Mother, and share the space.
Are we alone? Yes. Yes! Alone! Sweet solitude! No one will hear us, disturb us. Everything is going according to plan.
The eccentric jester continues talking to the Night Mother's sarcophagus, mentioning names of the other Brotherhood members. The elf expels quiet, shallow breaths, staying quiet in the tight space. Cicero's ramblings continue for what feels like an eternity until a familiar voice is heard.
Dear Cicero, such a humble servant, but he will never hear my voice, for he is not the listener.
Oh, but how can I defend you? How can I exert your will if you will not speak to anyone?
Oh, but I will speak. I will speak to you, for you are the one.
Fighting hard to keep their composure and remain hidden, the elf's internal monologue is pushed aside by the voice of the Night Mother. Cramped in the sarcophagus, instructions are given.
I give you this task. Journey to Wallen Road. Speak with Armand Mortier.
At the end of his ramblings, Cicero speaks with a defeated tone. Upon hearing this, the Night Mother tells the elf to say the following phrase to the jester.
Darkness rises when silence dies.
After the message is given, the sarcophagus door opens, revealing the elf.
What? What treachery! Defiler! Debaser and defiler! You have violated the sanctity of the Night Mother's coffin! Explain yourself! Speak, worm!
The Night Mother, she spoke to me, the elf says.
She spoke to you? More treachery, more trickery and deceit! You lie! The Night Mother speaks only to the listener!
She said to tell you that. Darkness rises when silence dies, the elf explains.
She said that. She said those words. To you. But those are the words, the binding words, written in the keeping tomes. The signal so I would know. Mother's only way of talking to sweet Cicero. Then it's true. She's back. Our Lady is back. She has chosen a listener. She has chosen you. All hail the listener.
Hearing the jester's cackling, a door bursts open with Astrid running inside.
By Sithis, this ends now! Back away, fool! Whatever you've been planning is over!
Are you all right? I heard the commotion. Who was Cicero talking to? Where's the accomplice? Reveal yourself, traitor!
Oh, I spoke only to the Night Mother. I spoke to the Night Mother, but she didn't speak to me. Oh, no! She spoke only to her, to the listener.
What? The listener? What are you going on about? What is this lunacy?
It's true! It's true! The Night Mother has spoken. The silence has been broken. The listener has been chosen.
Pushing past the excited Cicero, Astrid approaches the elf.
When I heard Cicero screaming, I knew you'd been discovered. I feared the worst. Are you all right?
Yes, don't worry, I'm fine, the elf answers.
Then what in Sithis' name is going on? Cicero spoke to the Night Mother, but she spoke to you? Is this just more of the fool's rambling?
He's telling the truth. The Night Mother really spoke to me, the elf explains.
What? So Cicero wasn't talking to anyone else? Just The Night Mother's body? And the Night Mother who, according to everything we know, will only speak to the person chosen as listener, just spoke. Right now. To you? By Sithis. And? What did she say?
She told me to speak to Amand Motier in Vollenrud, the elf replies.
Amand Motier? I have no idea who that is. But Vollenrud, that I have heard of. And I know where it is.
So should I go and speak with him? The elf asks.
No. No. Listen, I don't know what's going on here, but you take your orders from me. Are we clear on that? The Night Mother may have spoken to you, but I am still the leader of this family. I will not have my authority so easily dismissed. I need time to think about all this. This is all just too much too fast. Go get some work from Nazir. I need time to think.
Frustrated and flustered by the current events, Astrid leaves the Night Mother's chambers and returns to her own. The elf decides to follow her instructions and get a new assortment of contracts from Nazir.
Need something?
Astrid sent me for more work, the elf says.
Well then, your timing couldn't be better. As it turns out, I've got 2 new contracts. Your first target is an orc bard named Lerbuk. He is, by all accounts, the worst bard in all of Skyrim. Apparently, so many people sought his death, Astrid had to hold a lottery to determine the client. Happy hunting.
After eliminating the first target, the elf heads to the location where the second one resides. With the target's whereabouts in view, the elf drops to one knee, holding the back of their head. A sharp ache stabs at the back of their brain. The migraine shakes and ripples around their skull. The sensation leaves as quick as it comes. Unsure of the cause, the elf picks themselves back up and regains focus on the task at hand. The elf draws their crossbow and takes aim. Zeroing in on the unsuspecting victim, the elf's vision starts to blur as sweat trickles down their brow. Refusing to let this affliction take control, the elf takes a deep exhale before putting the target within the crossbow's sight. The bolt skims the victim's shoulder, causing him and his partner to take up arms and pursue the elf, who frantically attempts to reload. However, they fumble and drop the crossbow. The man rushes forward as their partner flanks the elf. Melodies of grunts accompany the swinging of steel as they face off. The elf's dagger slices through the target's partner, sending her corpse into the ground. Yelling out for their lost ally, the target growls and readies his weapon. The elf clutches their dagger and prepares for the duel. The man gets as far as raising his axe and taking one step before he is laid to rest by a swift slash. Shaken by the botched hit, the elf sprints into the woods before checking themselves for injuries. Luckily, the elf escaped physically unscathed, but mentally, the anxiety gets unbearable as the beating of their heart and numbness in their hands overwhelms the panicked elf. Instead of trying to fight the panic, they muffle themselves with their mask and scream as loud as they possibly can.
Look, we need to talk. Something is happening here. I'm not sure entirely what that something is, but... well, we need to find out. If the Night Mother really did give you an order to talk to a contact, we'd be mad to ignore it. And I think we'd both agree, Cicero's brought quite enough madness to this sanctuary. So go. Go to Vollenrud. It's a crypt, pretty far to the northeast. Talk to this Amand Motier, and let's see where all this leads,
An empty bottle of skooma is stuffed into a leather backpack, along with the rest of the camp supplies. The elf then ventures into the eerie crypt that is Vollenrud. Weapon drawn, they walk down the stairs and enter a large room where the entrances to 3 others can be seen. As they continue forward, they notice another entrance, Walking down yet another set of steps, a pile of Draugr lay sprawled out on the floor. The elf sheathes their dagger and opens the blood-soaked door. 2 men stand inside the room, one of which immediately steps forward and addresses the elf.
By the almighty divines, you've come. You've actually come. This dreadful black sacrament thing. It worked.
The elf stares blankly at the man, saying nothing.
Right then. You prefer to listen, is that it? Well, you must represent the Dark Brotherhood. I certainly wasn't expecting anyone else. So, I'll cut right to the chase. I would like to arrange a contract. Several, actually. I dare say the most important work your organization has had in, well, centuries. I'm sure someone of your disposition will probably even find it enjoyable. But you should know that these killings are but a means to an end, for they pave the way to the most important target. The real reason I'm speaking with a cutthroat in the bowels of this detestable crypt, for I seek the assassination of the Emperor. It's a shocking request, I know, but it is inside the purview of what you Dark Brotherhood types do, isn't it? If history is to be believed, you must understand, so much has led to this day, so much planning and maneuvering. Now you're here, as if the very stars have finally aligned. But I digress. Here, let me give you these. They are to be delivered to your, superior. Rexus! The items.
The soldier approaches the elf and passes over a letter along with an amulet before returning to his post.
Here. The sealed letter will explain everything that needs to be done. The amulet is quite valuable. You can use it to pay for any and all expenses.
After the meeting concludes, the elf takes the items and fills their pack before venturing off.
You're back. Good. All right, so, did you meet this Motier? What did he want?
I did, and he gave me the contract. He wants us to kill the Emperor, the elf replies.
You're joking.
The elf hands over the envelope, along with the amulet.
What's this? By Sithis, you're not joking. To kill the Emperor of Tamriel. I don't know exactly what's going on here, if you're the listener, or this is some fluke, or what. But what we now have before us...
Astrid shakes her head in disbelief. So, we'll accept the contract? The elf asks.
You're damn right we'll accept it. If we pull this off, the Dark Brotherhood will know a fear and respect we haven't seen in centuries. You think I'd abandon an opportunity to lead my family to glory? But this is all so much to take in. I need time to read the letter and figure out where we go from here. I'm thinking we need that amulet appraised. I want to know where it came from, how much it's worth, and if we can actually get away with selling it. And there's only one man who can give us what we need. Delvin Mallory. He's a fence, a private operator. Works out of the Ratway in Riften. Give me the letter. Bring Mallory the amulet. Find out everything you can and sell it if he's willing. He'll offer a letter of credit. That's fine. Delvin Mallory and the Dark Brotherhood have... history. He can be trusted.
The elf again travels to the city of Riften. Avoiding the citizens and guards, they head to the underground tunnels known as the Ratway. It's a cautious journey through the sewers, but a quick one. The elf strolls into the Ragged Flagon, also known to be the hideout for the Thieves' Guild. The intimidating group all turn their heads to glance at the shrouded figure upon their entry. The elf takes a seat opposite the man that Astrid needs.
Oh, now you must be lost. Best you scurry off while you're able. The Ratway, well, it has a habit of swallowing up the uninvited.
I'm here on behalf of the Dark Brotherhood, Delvin, the elf says.
Oh, I see. Well now, how is Astrid doing these days, huh? Tell her to stop by sometime. We'd have a drink. Catch up. Ah, but
We can discuss that later, yeah? What does the Brotherhood need?
I'd like you to appraise this amulet, the elf replies, handing the goods over to Delvin.
Let's see. Where, oh, where did you get this? No, don't answer. I don't want to know. This is an amulet of the Emperor's Elder Council, specially crafted for each member, worth a small fortune.
So you'll buy it? The elf asks.
Buy it? This? An Elder Council amulet? Oh yes. Oh yes indeed. Oh, wait just one moment. Here is a letter of credit, usable by Astrid only, for any service or item I can provide, as per our standard arrangement. You bring that back to your lovely mistress, with my regards.
The elf leaves the ratway and returns to Astrid with Delvin's letter.
Good, you're back. Well, what did Mallory have to say? Is the amulet authentic?
Yes, he said it's an amulet of the Elder Council, the elf answers.
The Elder Council? Oh, now that explains quite a bit. Motier, you naughty, naughty boy. Hiring the Dark Brotherhood to help you rise beyond your station. Was Mallory willing to buy the amulet?
He was. Here's his letter. The elf gives it to Astrid.
Splendid. Then we're ready to begin. Or, more specifically, you're ready to begin. I hope you have something nice to wear, because you're going to a wedding. Well, more like the public reception. It should be a lovely affair. You'll mingle with the guests, eat some cake, stab the bride. Oh yes, you've got to kill the bride at her wedding. And they say romance is dead. Your target's name is Vittoria Vici. She oversees the East Empire Company's business holdings in Solitude. Her death will cause an uproar, which is exactly what we want. Vici is likely to address her guests frequently. Kill her when she does that, and I promise you a significant bonus. Now go, and give the City of Solitude a celebration they're not likely to forget.
Soft notes glide out of a wooden flute, delicious food lays spread out on tables, and guests chat and laugh. The elf's heart pounds as they ready their crossbow. They take long, deep breaths and focus on the task. Anxiety is present in the elf's mind, but they are able to keep it at bay for now. The nearly wed couple make their way upstairs to address their guests. As the bride begins her speech, the elf readies their weapon.
Good people of Solitude, my husband Aesgeir and I thank you for coming to our reception. We thank you for sharing the love we have for each other.
They try their best to aim, but the humming from one of the performers drills into their mind, making concentrating an impossible task. The elf shuts their eyes and exhales, trying to drown it out.
In this courtyard, there are no stormcloaks. There are no Imperials.
Trying harder and harder to aim, the cluster of sounds overwhelm their senses. Infuriated by the annoying sounds and unwilling to replicate the mistakes of their previous assassination, the elf forms an elemental orb within their palms and burns the wedding to the ground.
Are you all enjoying yourselves?
Amidst the rain of fire and electricity, the guards ready their weapons and begin their pursuit. The elf begins to escape before they brush past a familiar face.
Astrid ordered me to keep an eye on you. Figured you could use a hand when the chaos erupted. We'll meet back up at the sanctuary. I'll be fine. Go.
The fellow assassin holds off the guards, allowing the elf to slip past and flee the city.
The news is everywhere. Vittoria Vici, the Emperor's cousin, butchered at her own wedding. Well done. Let's see His Eminence try to ignore this. With Vici's murder, you've started us down a path the Dark Brotherhood hasn't traveled in centuries. The assassination of an emperor. Now then, time to proceed to the next stage of the plan. Go and speak with Gabriella. She's been helping me arrange your next contract.
Dear sister, I've been waiting for you. Your next contract awaits, as I'm sure Astrid indicated. With the Emperor's arrival in Skyrim now a certainty, his security service, the Penitus Oculatus, will need to begin its preparations immediately. Security is being handled by a Commander Morrow. Astrid and I have devised a plan to break the man, and in doing so, cripple the Emperor's protection. You are to slay the Commander's son, Gaius Morrow, and once he is dead, plant false evidence on his body, implicating him in a plot to kill the Emperor. He is set to leave the Penitus Oculatus outpost at Dragonbridge and inspect the security of each city in Skyrim. Go there now. Observe Gaius Morrow's departure and follow him. Waylay him in one of the cities and send his soul to Sithis. Once he's dead, plant the incriminating letter on his body and let fate take care of the rest. Walk in Gaius Morrow's shadow and deliver to him the judgment of Sithis.
Father, you worry too much. I'll be fine.
I know you will, but all the same, remember everything I said. Stay alert, and when you get to the cities, make your observations and move on.
I understand, but you're being paranoid. I'm inspecting security, not charging off into battle. There's not a lot that can go wrong.
Son, when the Emperor's safety is concerned, anything could go wrong. Off with you now, and good travels.
Farewell, Father. I'll return as soon as I'm able.
Well, this is it then. Look after yourself, Gaius. You're doing your duty, and I'm proud of you, but you better come back to me. You hear?
I may travel alone, but you know I carry you always in my heart. I'll see you soon.
The soldier walks day and night, traveling through the vast and varying roads of Skyrim. During his expedition, he spends some time in Whiterun scanning the Jarl's tower. He basks in the sunlight on the front steps of Dragon's Reach. However, this is where he spends his last moments. The assassin takes his life and leaves the incriminating letter on his corpse. Then they're gone, before the body even has a chance to turn cold.
Ah, at last. I've been anxiously awaiting your return.
Gaius Morrow is dead, the elf says.
Yes, I know. As does Astrid. But you should know that we have a more pressing matter to deal with. It's... Cicero. There's been an incident. You should proceed into the sanctuary. I'll let Astrid explain.
Just try to relax, Vizara. Let the elixir do its work. You'll feel better shortly.
Ah, thank you, dear. You are most kind. The Jester's cut feels as bad as it looks, I'm afraid.
Damn it, this never should have happened. We knew better. We knew better, and still we let our guards down. Ugh!
I'll admit, even I'm having a hard time disagreeing with you.
Marrow is dead, I know, but we've got bigger problems right now. The fool went absolutely berserk. He wounded Vizara, tried to kill me, and then he fled. I knew that lunatic couldn't be trusted.
Oh, it's true, I'm afraid. Cicero was a little whirlwind, slashing this way and that. It would have been funny if he weren't trying to murder us all.
Don't forget the ranting and raving. About the Night Mother, how she was the true leader of the Dark Brotherhood, and Astrid was just a pretender.
Look, we've got to deal with this situation. You've got to deal with this situation. I want you to find that miserable little fool and end his life. But first, find my husband. Make sure he's all right. After the attack, Arnbjorn flew into a rage. When Cicero left, Arnbjorn went after him. They disappeared into the wild. Search Cicero's room. Maybe there's something in there that sheds some light on where he might have gone. Let me know the minute you find something. I've got to see to Vizara and calm everyone down.
Bested by a fool. Who's the fool now,
Hush, Vizara. You were very brave. Astrid may well be dead if not for you.
The elf follows Astrid's instructions and heads into Cicero's room to search for clues. As they enter, multiple journals can be seen on tables and benches. Page after page gets flipped and read, until another journal on the jester's nightstand reveals the location of another Dark Brotherhood sanctuary. After making the discovery, the elf returns to Astrid.
Have you found something? Good, good. Does it say where he may be headed?
Yes. Another Brotherhood sanctuary. Apparently it's in Dawnstar, the elf explains.
The Dawnstar Sanctuary? You need to leave. Now. Every moment counts, so I want you to take my horse. His name is Shadowmere. You'll find him outside by the pool. Find Arnbjorn. Make sure my husband's all right. And then, send that jester's twisted little soul to the void, in as many pieces as possible.
The elf heads out of the sanctuary to embark on yet another adventure. They approach the pool that sits outside. The small body of black water begins to bubble and rise. The elf watches on in amazement before a red-eyed stallion manifests itself in the shadows above the pool. The horse nods, its crimson eyes holding a piercing gaze at the Dunmer, who calmly approaches. They hop on the steed's back and the two set off to find the jester. The pair arrive at Dawnstar and begin searching for the sanctuary. Trotting along the coastline, they hear a faint cough. They follow the sound and find Arnbjorn clutching his stomach in a pool of his own blood.
Should have figured Astrid would send you. Yeah, gotta admit that little jester's good with that butter knife. But don't worry, I gave as good as I got.
Where did he go? The elf asks.
In there, through the door. Some old sanctuary by the looks of it. I would have followed him, but I don't know the phrase.
It's okay. You get back home, I'll get that clown, the elf says.
All right, you convinced me. Doubt I'd be much good to you anyway. The little fop cut me pretty deep. But I slashed him good. Pretty sure I severed an artery. Don't know what you're gonna find in there. But you can probably just follow the blood.
The elf approaches the door.
What is life's greatest illusion?
Innocence, my brother, the elf replies.
Listener! Is that you? Oh, I knew you'd come! Send the best to defeat the best. Astrid knew her stupid wolf couldn't slay Cicero.
The jester's voice echoes through the chambers. The elf begins to feel uneasy. As they proceed through the first door, a ghost of the sanctuary emerges and begins attacking the Dunmer. The elf dodges the ghost's lunge, sidestepping before delivering the fatal blow.
Oh, but this isn't at all what Mother would want. You kill the keeper or I kill the listener. Now that's madness.
Cicero's ramblings continue, as does the elf's hunt. Approaching a small bridge, another ghost appears at the end. A series of spikes begin moving in and out of the walls, blocking the only way forward. The Dunmer thinks for a second, trying to strategize. They time their steps with the tempo of the spike trap, allowing them to glide past them. Reaching the other side of the bridge, the elf chops down the other ghost before continuing down the staircase. They carefully avoid the tripwire laid across the ground, but another two spectres emerge from the walls. The Dunmer holds off the first ghost, doing their best to avoid the barrage of arrows from the second one. After defeating them, the elf dashes at the archer and begins attacking. Taking on a few minor injuries, they defeat the other sanctuary guard and march on. The elf's mind begins filling with thoughts of doubt, although they're not sure what it is that they are doubting. Whispers of other people's voices swirl around their head, Astrid, Cicero, even that of the Night Mother. Nevertheless, they continue. The elf reaches the next room and spots a gaping hole in the wall. Ice and snow seep from the passage, and the Dunmer walks through. Ignoring the ice-cold breeze, Cicero's voice is heard yet again.
All right, so Cicero attacked that harlot Astrid. But what's a fool to do when his mother is slandered and mocked? Surely the listener understands.
The elf exits the frozen crevasse and enters a small crypt. They are met by another group of ghosts. During the fight, the Dunmer takes another batch of cuts and bruises, but still manages to dispatch their attackers. They shrug off their wounds, but the closer the elf gets to Cicero, the more obnoxious their thoughts become. The hunt nears its conclusion. The elf walks down the corridor and prepares for what's next.
You caught me. I surrender.
The elf's mind continues spewing doubt within itself, rendering the Dunmer unable to reply.
Oh, you prefer to listen, eh? Of course, of course. The listener listens. A joke. A funny joke. I get it. Then listen to this. Don't kill me. Let poor Cicero live. I attacked the strumpet Astrid. I did. And I do it again. Anything for our mother?
Trying to flush out the intruding voices of Astrid, Cicero, and the Night Mother, the elf tries to make their choice.
Return to the Pretender. Tell her I'm dead. Tell her you strangled me with my own intestines. But lie. Yes, lie. Lie and let me live. Do what you will. Cicero has no fight left. In the end, Sithis will judge us both.
A strange sensation digs into their mind. The elf can't find the urge to kill Cicero, for it feels impossible. It feels wrong. For a reason unbeknownst to the elf, they walk away. They let the jester live.
Arnbjorn is safe, and for that you have my thanks. But what of the fool? Is Cicero dead?
Yes, Cicero is dead, the elf replies.
Excellent. Once again, you've proven yourself a born assassin. Tell you what, why don't you hold on to Shadowmere a while longer? He's a fine steed. And now that this Cicero mess has been mopped up, we can get back to the matter at hand, There's just one more target before we strike out at the Emperor. Have you by chance heard of the Gourmet? Read his cookbook? It's become quite a phenomenon. The Gourmet is scheduled to cook for the Emperor at a special dinner. You'll kill him, steal his writ of passage, and assume the role of Master Chef. Festus has been spearheading this part of the assassination plan. He's close to uncovering the identity of the Gourmet. You should report to him.
The Markarth Keep. That's where you'll find Anton Varan. Probably cooking up all of the Gourmet's recipes, passing them off as his own.
Who are you? What do you want?
The Gourmet, where is he? The elf asks bluntly.
The Gourmet? Never. I don't know what led you here, but nothing will betray my trust. I'll take the secret of the Gourmet's identity to my grave.
Careful with that tongue, Anton. The Dark Brotherhood can make that happen, the elf replies.
The Dark Brotherhood? Now, wait a minute. Let's not get hasty. I mean, surely my friend wouldn't want me to endanger my own life, right? Look, his name is Balagog Gronolobe. He's an orc. The gourmet's an orc. He's staying at the Nightgate Inn. That's all I know. Now you'll let me go, right?
As night falls, the elf ends the cook's life and begins their hunt for the gourmet. After a long trip in the snowy mountains of Skyrim, they approach the Nightgate Inn, the last known location of the gourmet. As they go to touch the doorknob, a pain shoots through their head. A familiar pain. The elf tries to keep upright, but the ache proves too strong, causing them to stumble. Fists balled tightly and eyes clamped shut, the elf takes a second to breathe. After they regain composure, the Dunmer heads inside. The innkeeper strolls into one of the vacant rooms to assess its cleanliness. Meanwhile, the elf slips past and goes down the stairs into the basement. They lurk in the shadows and begin scanning the area, but hear footsteps behind them. An orc wearing nice robes strolls out of a side room. The elf quickly takes cover behind a few barrels. They ready their blade as they close in on their target, but the headache returns, even more painful than before. Rushing forward to lunge at the gourmet, the elf loses their footing, but luckily, the dagger's edge still plunges into the back of the orc's body, and as the gourmet's body spills its soul, the pain in the elf's head turns into a subtle burst of euphoria. The Dunmer dusts themselves off before they loot the writ of passage, hide the body, and disappear from the scene.
So it's done. You've killed the gourmet, and now Titus Mead II is as good as dead. And I've decided you will have the honor. I have the utmost faith in your success, believe me. So let's begin. Go now to Castle Dower in Solitude. Present the gourmet's writ of passage to the officer in charge, Commander Marrow. I'm sure you remember him. You'll gain unrestricted access to the kitchens, and then the Emperor. You're posing as a chef, so you'll be able to poison his meal rather easily. Take this. It's called Jaren root. All it takes is one taste, and the effects are quite immediate. The Emperor will be serving Sithis before he even knows he's dead. Once Mead has been killed, escape through the upper door and across the bridge. I've arranged for it to be unguarded once the alarm is sounded. Now go, my friend. Go and fulfill your destiny as listener. Remember, when you kill, we all wield the blade.
The elf arrives at Castle Dower in Solitude after disguising themselves as the chef. They approach Commander Marrow and prepare to enter the tower.
Stop right there. The tower is off limits until further notice.
The elf hands over the gourmet's writ of passage.
What's this now? Order of His Eminence, possessor of these papers. The gourmet. By Azra. The gourmet. I'm sorry. Your clothes, of course. I should have realized. Please, excuse my ignorance. Gianna, the castle chef, has been eagerly awaiting your arrival. You should proceed to the kitchen straight away.
Entering the main room, the elf stops for a second and stares at the throne. Tingling and numbness dance upon their fingertips, and after they feel their heart pound for a few seconds, the familiar pain creeps into the back of the Dunmer's brain. The elf merely sighs, shaking their head before continuing into the kitchen.
On another delivery. I told you people our stocks are fine. Now put whatever you have over there, then get out.
You must be mistaken, for I am the gourmet, the elf says.
The gourmet? Oh, finally. When I heard the gourmet was being brought in to cook for the Emperor, I could hardly believe it. It's just... I just can't believe the gourmet is a dark elf. How difficult it must have been for you in Morrowind. The food there is...
The elf holds a cold stare at the rambling cook, refusing to blink.
The Emperor has requested your signature dish, the potage le magnifique. I've taken the liberty of getting it started. But the cookbook only says so much, and everyone makes the potage differently. I would be honored if we could make it the gourmet special way. The base broth is already boiled. We can get started right now. So, which ingredient should I add next?
The elf tries to think of anything they can add to the dish. First, carrots, they instruct.
Carrots? Really? Okay. What next?
They pause for a second, trying to think of something else. Nirnroot, the elf says.
Really? Oh, I use ninroot as a special seasoning all the time as well. What a wonderful idea. Okay, now what?
The elf begins to get bored of the conversation. A septim, they add.
A septum? As in a gold coin? Really? Ah, I see now. That would give the potage le magnifique a slightly metallic but delicious aftertaste. Ha! Simply brilliant. I have to say, the stew seems done. Add anything else and we may dilute the distinct flavors. So, is that it?
Handing over the poison, the elf adds one final ingredient. Almost. You just need to add this, they say.
Oh? What is this? Some kind of herb? Are you sure? The potage tastes perfect as it is. Any other ingredient might...
The elf slightly squints while still holding a piercing gaze.
I'm sorry. Of course, it's your most famous recipe after all. All right then, your secret ingredient's been added. And if I may say so, it has been an honor getting a chance to prepare a meal with, well, the best chef in the entire Empire. I'll carry the stew pot and lead the way up to the dining room. I'm sure the Emperor and his guests are dying to meet you.
The Dunmer realizes that every additional ingredient is one step closer to the big finale, the assassination of the Emperor. The weight of the situation hasn't really sunk in until the poisonous root is mixed into the dish. Their heart starts to race, breaths become more rushed, and a thin layer of sweat forms on the assassin's brow. As the pair walk upstairs, the elf tries to ground themselves and keep cool.
But befriending one, now that's beneficial, as I'm sure you'd all agree. Aha! Here we are, honored guests. I present to you the gourmet. Ah, the potage le magnifique. So delicious. My friends, as Emperor, I of course reserve the right of first taste.
As the Emperor speaks to the others, the elf's heart pounds hard enough to be felt in their throat. Their peripheries fade to black, and the only thing in focus is the target. The Emperor's dialogue fades out as the chef fills the bowl.
Oh, how marvelous. Just delicious.
The elf watches on in excitement, their body pulsing with ecstasy.
It is everything I had hoped it would be. I think something's wrong.
As the body of the ruler slumps backwards in his chair, the elf's body runs hot, and even though their face remains stoic and neutral, an intense happiness fills their mind. However, the assassin's glee is cut short. Guards ready their weapons as they charge towards the cooks.
Someone do something!
The gourmet and the chef have poisoned the Emperor! Get them!
The Dunmer uses the other chef as a distraction, slipping past the other diners and escaping the tower.
What? No, no, you don't understand. There's been some kind of mistake.
As the elf sprints out of the tower, they are almost intoxicated with euphoria. The Emperor. I just killed the Emperor, the elf says to themselves. Tossing their chef's hat to the ground, the elf dashes across the bridge toward the opposing tower to continue their escape. The assassin stops in their tracks and watches as multiple soldiers unveil their ambush.
That man was, by far, the most insufferable decoy the Emperor has ever employed. I'm glad he's dead. But I'm even happier that you killed him. You, an assassin for the Dark Brotherhood, have just made an attempt on the Emperor's life. Would have succeeded had it been the real man. Surprised? So was I when a member of your family came to me with a plan. We worked out a deal, you see. An exchange. I get you, and the Dark Brotherhood gets to continue its existence. But you know what? I've changed my mind. How about this? I kill you, and butcher each and every one of your miserable little friends. Your sanctuary's being put to the sword right now. That's what I think of this deal. You killed my son. All of you. And now you'll pay the price. Kill her, and make sure there's nothing left to bury.
As Commander Morrow leaves, the elf manages to ground themselves and prepare to face off against the agents. Blades slash through the air, occasionally colliding with one another. The Dunmer eliminates a few of the men, but begins taking on as many blows as they have given.
Mercy!
One of the soldiers manages to slice the elf's stomach. The assassin drops to one knee as their weapon is launched off the bridge. As the soldier prepares the killing blow, the Dunmer looks up at him. The elf casts an elemental bolt to eliminate the final attacker. Plugging their wound with their hand, the elf manages to hobble to the bottom of the tower before losing consciousness. The elf looks around, hands still clutching their wound. They grunt as they lift their bruised body up off the ground. Desperately trying to stay upright, the Dunmer stumbles to their pack and begins patching up their wounds. They down a potion before removing their disguise and head off to the sanctuary. Almost at the sanctuary, the elf gets a terrible feeling. They dismount Shadowmere and proceed on foot. Penitus Oculatus agents surround the sanctuary. Barrels of flammable liquid lay around the entrance. The elf takes a few seconds to count the number of enemies before preparing their plan. The men try to ready their weapons, but their efforts remain futile. Ball after ball of hellfire rain down upon them. Screams fill the air as their clothing sticks to their skin. When everything goes silent, the elf makes their way down. As they approach the entrance, they notice something strange. Festus's corpse lays pinned against a tree, pierced with hundreds of arrows. The elf begins to feel tension behind their eyes, along with an intense anger.
The sooner we get out of here, the better. Smoke's getting bad. This place will be raging soon.
Inside the burning sanctuary, agents can be heard speaking. The elf marches down the stairs and is noticed by the soldiers, but before they can even draw their weapons, a barrage of elemental bolts burn them to a crisp. As the Dunmer continues, they notice the body of Visara on the floor. The tension in the elf's skull gets worse and their anger increases. More agents are seen defending themselves against Arnbjorn in his werewolf form. But he is outnumbered and overpowered. The agents slay the beast before turning their attack on the elf. However, it only takes mere seconds for the other assassin's death to be avenged. Unable to stop for long, the Dunmer loots one of the soldiers' swords and continues to push through. The body of Gabriella and the spider Liss occupy the next room. But before the elf loses all hope, a voice can be heard.
I fought worse than you!
If I am to die today, so be it.
The elf sprints into the dining room and tries to locate Nazir. At the top of the staircase, Nazir is seen dueling the head agent. The Dunmer darts up the stairs and assists their fellow assassin. The Oculatus agent fails to hold off the contract killers. His lifeless corpse drops to the ground.
So you are alive. I was starting to wonder.
It was all a setup. We were double-crossed, the elf explains.
Considering most of us are now dead, I assumed as much. And before you ask, no, I don't think it was you. Well, maybe I did. But you saving my sorry hide just now sort of erased any doubts. So, thanks.
We need to move now, the elf replies.
You've got that right. Only a matter of time before we're roasted alive. Come on.
The two make their way to the Night Mother's quarters. They both scan the room, and panic sets in as thick black smoke and scorching flames devour the space. Unsure of how to escape, the elf hears a familiar voice.
Listener, I am your only salvation. Come, embrace me.
The Dunmer follows the Night Mother's instructions, ditching their weapon and entering the sarcophagus yet again.
You must speak with Astrid. Here in the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary.
Hurry, Nazir. I'm telling you, she's in there.
I'm going as fast as I can, you stupid she-devil. I don't see you helping. One more pull. There.
Can you get it open?
I think so. Just hold on a moment.
The coffin opens, revealing the elf.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down. It's all right. You've been through a lot. Maybe you should just sit down for a bit.
I need to see Astrid. She's here, in the sanctuary, the elf says.
She's here? By Sithis, I thought we'd lost her. Let's go.
The group proceed into Astrid's quarters.
Alive. You're alive. Thanks, Sithis.
You betrayed us, the elf says, eyes shooting a piercing glare.
Shh. Please. There is much I have to say, and not much time. I'm sorry. So very sorry. He said that by giving you to them, he would leave the Dark Brotherhood alone. I was such a fool. But you're alive. So there's still a chance. A chance to start over. Rebuild. That's why I did this. Don't you see? I am the Black Sacrament. The Night Mother was right. And to prove my sincerity, I have prayed for a contract. You lead this family now. I give you the Blade of Woe, so that you can see it through. You must kill me.
The elf reaches over Astrid's burnt body and takes the blade.
Astrid did the right thing. And now it's your turn. End her suffering.
Anxiety and confusion dance around the Dunmer's mind. The unbearable tension builds behind their eyes as a piercing shriek fills their ears. The elf raises the blade above their head and sends Astrid's soul to the void.
Thank you.
The second the blade makes contact with the traitor, every negative emotion, feeling and sensation is flushed from the Dunmer's body and mind, much like the cleansing of 1,000,000 toxins. The elf returns to the Night Mother and listens to her words.
Astrid is dead. It is as it should be. May she find redemption in the void. But while you live, the Dark Brotherhood lives. Speak with Armand Mortier at the Bannered Mare in Whiterun. Emperor Titus Mead II must be eliminated. But first, inform Nazir of your plans, for you are the listener and must bind this family together.
Making their way to Whiterun, the elf has had a few days to think about the future of the Dark Brotherhood, as well as reflect on recent events. As much as Astrid's betrayal shook the Dunmer to their core, they can't help but notice their intense mood change. The anxiety, fear, confusion, and internal conflict, all of it disappeared the moment Astrid's soul was sent to the void. Almost as if killing her was like removing a cancerous growth. The assassin enters the Bannered Mare to speak to Amaund Moti heir yet again.
What is it? I said I didn't wish to be disturbed. By the gods, you're alive! But I'd heard your sanctuary. Please, you mustn't think I had anything to do with that. I wanted the Emperor dead, the true Emperor. I still do. It was Morrow.
I know what happened, but we still have a job to do, the elf says.
You mean after all that's transpired, the Dark Brotherhood will still honor the contract? Why, this is astounding news! Wonderful news! The Emperor is still in Skyrim, but not for long. He's on board his ship, the Kataraya, moored offshore in the Solitude Inlet. But you must hurry. If you can get on board that ship, kill Titus Mead II, as contracted, I will reveal the location of the dead drop that holds your payment.
The boat? How do I get to it? The elf asks.
It's in the Solitude Inlet. That's the channel just north of the docks. I suppose you should go to the docks and swim?
What about Morrow? The Dunmer asks.
I can imagine you'd want to settle that score. Last I heard, he was at the Solitude docks conducting the Emperor's departure.
The elf thinks for a minute. Okay, I'll leave now, they reply.
Please, make haste. The Emperor's ship won't stay moored forever.
The elf gathers their equipment and their pack before mounting Shadowmere and heading for the Solitude docks. After a long haul, the elf surveys the boat-holding area right outside Solitude's walls. Offshore is the ship containing the Emperor and his soldiers, and nearby is the docks, occupied by Commander Morrow. The assassin watches over the area, memorizing guard paths and sentry locations as they hatch a plan. Hours pass by as the Dunmer surveys the area with laser focus. Raindrops bounce off their hood as the cold wind blows against their cowl.
By the gods. You! But it can't be.
A look of pure fear displayed on Morrow's face shifts to one of anger and frustration.
You're dead. You!
They both draw their weapons and begin to duel. Blades clash and slide off one another. Boots scuffle on the wooden boards as the two partake in an intense transaction of violence. Their weapons lock, forcing them to exchange glares. The commander growls, shoving the elf back and readying his weapon to deliver a powerful strike. His eyes open wide as blood gushes from his stomach. The assassin's blade tore through his torso before his sword could even be raised above his head. The body of the soldier drops to the floor. The elf feels no gain from killing the commander, but more a minor feeling of accomplishment, like adjusting a picture frame that was slightly askew. The elf wipes the blood from their blade and vanishes from the docks before anyone notices that Maro has been slain. The elf shifts a few meters up the coastline until they are in range of the ship that holds the Emperor. As the elf is unable to see anything other than the top deck, they realize that a plan involving the inside of the ship will be impossible to formulate. As they spectate the floating boat, a chain can be seen on the side. It seems an entrance has appeared. The assassin boards the boat, right behind a sailor finishing his tasks.
Come on, let's get something to eat. Gods, I'll be glad to see the last of Skyrim.
The Dunmer glides from shadow to shadow, deep in the belly of the boat to follow the men.
Dragons, murder, rebellion, and we sail right into the middle of it with the Emperor on board.
After passing a few bedrooms, they approach the mess hall, where a few men relax while they eat and drink. The elf watches and waits. As the men drink more and more, their guards drop low enough for the assassin to work their magic. Bodies lay littered along the floor. Moving from the mess hall to the upstairs section, the elf takes out almost a dozen soldiers in mere seconds. Guards, disturbed by the noise, wake from their slumber only to return to an eternal rest as the assassin tears their souls from their bodies. The Dunmer calmly walks through the carnage they have caused. Leather outsoles dip into puddles of blood as they tread along the hallway until they reach a door. The thick metal lock and tall imperial banners draped on either side show that this must be where the Emperor resides. The elf picks the lock with great concentration and enters the room.
And once more I prove Commander Morrow the fool. You can't stop the Dark Brotherhood. Never could. Come now, don't be shy. You haven't come this far just to stand there gawking. You and I have a date with destiny, it would seem. But so it is with assassins and emperors, Yes, I must die, and you must deliver the blow. It is simply the way it is. But I wonder, would you suffer an old man a few more words before the deed is done?
The elf doesn't say a word but slightly nods in approval.
Well, I thank you for your courtesy. You will kill me, and I've accepted that fate, but regardless of your path through life, I sense in you a certain ambition. So, I ask of you a favor. An old man's dying wish. While there are many who would see me dead, there is one who set the machine in motion. This person, whomever he or she may be, must be punished for their treachery. Once you've been rewarded for my assassination, I want you to kill the very person who ordered it. Would you do me this kindness?
I will think about it, the elf replies.
Thank you. Now, on to the business at hand, I suppose,
The Emperor turns and walks toward the window, where he gazes out to the ocean to embrace the inevitable. Impressed by the stoic attitude of the Emperor, the assassin draws their blade and ends his life. Returning to the bannered mare in Whiterun, the elf has had time to ponder the proposition placed by their last victim.
Aha! You're back.
The Emperor, Titus Mede II, is dead, the elf says.
I know!
I received the news not moments ago. Ha ha! This is glorious! My friend, you may not realize it, but you have served the Empire, indeed all of Tamriel, in ways you cannot possibly imagine. Ah, but you care little for politics, am I right? You want money, and money you shall have. Your payment waits for you at a dead drop. It is inside an urn, in the very chamber where we first met, in Vollenrud. Now please, go. Collect your money, and let us never look upon one another again. Our business, thank the gods, is concluded.
The two conclude their meeting as the assassin turns and walks away. Should I respect a dying man's wishes? Should I murder the man who gave the Brotherhood their biggest contract in centuries? Thoughts twist and turn around the Dunmer's mind. They have noticed that killing has ceased to be a personal pleasure and has turned into a way of life. To put everything into perspective, they remember to avoid thinking with emotion and personal preference and start thinking like a true member of the Brotherhood, but not just any member, the listener. The elf ventures to the new Brotherhood sanctuary in Dawnstar after taking their reward from Vollenrud.
Well, what word of the Emperor?
He's dead. The Emperor is dead. By my hand, the Dunmer says.
Truly? Could you have brought us more wondrous news? Recent events notwithstanding, this is a happy day for us, my friend. Despite your misfortunes, you stayed true to the Dark Brotherhood. You've saved us all, and for this, you have my eternal thanks. Now, of course, I must ask, killing the Emperor, how much did Motier pay for such a thing?
20,000 septims, the elf chuckles.
Ha! Remarkable. Well, the old bastard certainly made it worth your while, didn't he? Now, might I offer some advice? You should go to Riften and find Delvin Mallory. I believe Astrid had you visit him once before. Mallory is an expert obtainer of goods. We can use the money to repair and refit this sanctuary. Make a true home for us, huh? You do that, and I'll see what I can do about recruiting some new additions to our family.
After their exchange, the elf heads outside to meditate before they venture out to Riften.
Listener! Oh yes, it is Cicero. You were a fool to spare me. What, did you think I would be grateful? Cicero should be listener, not you. Now you will die.
The elf looks at the jester confused.
Gotcha! Oh, listener, you should see the look on your face. Oh, Cicero has returned, not to kill the kind listener, but to serve until one of us dies horribly in service to our mother. Best friends forever. In the meantime, I'll make myself at home in the sanctuary. I'm sure Mother needs tending.
Cicero and the slightly amused Dunmer part ways. Despite Astrid's betrayal, the few remaining members spent months recruiting and rebuilding the group brick by brick. With the help of Delvin of the Thieves Guild, the new sanctuary boasts a wide array of new furniture and toys. Eventually, they managed to return the sanctuary to its former glory, and with the greatest contract in centuries being completed, the Dark Brotherhood has returned to being one of the most feared factions in all of Tamriel. To be a member of the Dark Brotherhood is to be the blade that thrusts upon the throat of the selected. Every thief, noble and civilian lives their life with the added possibility of a poisoned crossbow bolt fired from a ghost draped in black and red leather, ending their life. We are not the beings who punish the dead. We are the spectres that guide the souls from the vessels that carried them to the afterlife that accepts them. We do the bidding of Sithis. We send souls to the void for our Night Mother. We do more than take lives to make a living. We live to take lives. We do what others have, but for a reason many do not. We are the Dark Brotherhood.
Yet another child has prayed to their mother. Hail, Sithis.